Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday night. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. The flu takes 2 more lives as that virus continues to spread its wrath across Montana.
The latest numbers bring Montana's confirmed death toll now to 6 since flu season began in October.
The Department of Public Health and Human Services says 5 of those 6 victims are over the age of 65.
So the numbers are adding up. In week 7, nearly 1,000 new influenza cases are confirmed across the state. That bumps the overall total to more than 6,100. The flu has been responsible for 270 hospitalizations.
Now here in Yellowstone County, we saw 68 confirmed reports over the past week, but 4 other Montana counties each confirmed more than 100 cases. Flathead County led the way with 123. The influx also hitting the Helena, Missoula, and Bozeman communities.
Gallatin County has the most cases with more than 1,100, and Yellowstone County sits second overall with 627 cases since October.
Well, it may surprise you that even though there are no confirmed coronavirus cases in Montana, local pharmacies are running out of those disposable respirator masks.
The demand for the masks has led to shortages all around the world, and that includes here in Billings. Q2's David J. checked in with some local pharmacies to find out why. David.
Well, Jeanelle and Russ, the Centers for Disease Control recommends everyday measures to prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Does not recommend those masks for people who are well to protect themselves, but the coronavirus has still led to a shortage of face masks. Juro's Pharmacy says some are looking for the N95 mask. Pharmacies managers say that people want the mask to send to relatives in China or taking trips. The suppliers told Juro's it cannot purchase extra masks and has put orders on an allocation basis. Juro's pharmacists use those masks when handling prescription drugs, and the concern is a shortage would affect medical workers.
If things do go south on us and it does start to spread, then the people who are at potential risk are going to be our health workers. You're just going to expound the transmission rate if our health workers are the ones who start coming down with it. The people who are sick need to be wearing the mask so they don't expose the healthcare workers.
And the Unified Health Command released a statement to conserve supplies. Masks are being reserved for patients who have coughs, colds, other respiratory symptoms, or immunocompromised. The role of masks is for source control and not to prevent exposure. Barbara Sneeman of Riverstone Health says because of the worldwide demand, the Unified Health Command, made up of Riverstone, St. Vincent Healthcare, and Billings Clinic, is assessing the supplies of masks and other personal protective equipment. Russ?
All right, thank you, David. Well, the city of Billings has released how it will handle public input on a proposed non-discrimination ordinance Monday night. Those who want to comment will be given 2 minutes, and that part of the meeting will last a maximum of 2 hours. Proponents and opponents will alternate speaking for 30 minutes. The proposal will be the last item on the agenda of Monday night's meeting. Mayor Bill Cole and City Administrator Chris Kokalski say the city prohibits weapons or firearms at council meetings, and they're asking that those attending refrain from bringing bags, purses, or any other items that will be searched. The screening will be at the northeast entrance near North 27th Street and 3rd Avenue North, and written comments will be accepted at that meeting. A majority vote by the City Council will move the initiative forward for consideration.
Another step forward in a massive Columbus high school theft case from last fall. Rosebud County authorities say they believe they have recovered the second vehicle stolen during a football game in September. The sheriff's office posted these photos of the 2013 BMW stuck in a snow-filled ditch on its Facebook page. Now, the post does not indicate where the vehicle's located or whether it contains any stolen merchandise. Columbus police say the vehicle was one of 2 stolen on September 20th, along with phones, wallets, sets of keys, and backpacks while coaches and players were out on the field. 2 suspects were arrested the next day in Rosebud County after crashing the second stolen vehicle.
Well, Northwestern Energy's plan to add a lot more electric power generation in the coming years could come to a screeching halt.
A new report commissioned by the Public Service Commission says Northwestern's plan is wrongly skewed toward adding fossil fuel plants instead of cleaner or more affordable options.
MTN's Mike Dennison has the story.
Northwestern says it needs to add 725 megawatts of power over the next 5 years to ensure it has enough for its 370,000 electric customers in Montana. A company plan last year said building natural gas-fired plants is the best way to fill that gap. Northwestern also is currently asking for bids for new projects. But the report, released last week by an energy consulting firm, says Northwestern used flawed information to devise its plan.
Is calling for building a whole bunch of new gas-fired power plants. It wants to purchase more of Colstrip. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in costs. And this report says that basically the analysis used to justify that has been rigged.
The report says Northwestern undervalued attributes of wind and solar power, and it says the company is overlooking the likelihood of being able to buy affordable power on the open market. Northwestern Energy Supply Manager Ben Fix-Fleischman disagrees and says most experts believe regional markets will get tighter in the coming years. That's why Northwestern wants to develop its own power for its customers, he says, and the bids will help decide the best options. Yet the study also criticized the bidding process, saying it too is biased against wind and solar power. Fix-Fleischman says the company needs power that can be dispatched quickly and not more of an intermittent source like wind. Fady of MEIC says he hopes the Public Service Commission, which will approve any new projects, pays attention to its own report.
This report, it just paints this picture of a monopoly utility that is just trying to squeeze profits out of ratepayers, and the Commission is the oversight tool to prevent that.
So it's not just an environmental question. It's also about the money and whether Northwestern customers are paying a fair price for electricity. Next week we'll take a look at what they're paying now and how it stacks up in the region. In Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, the PSC is now considering whether to approve Northwestern's proposed acquisition of a larger share of the Colstrip 4 power plant.
And now turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, a spring-like day on tap for tomorrow, but it could be a different story come Sunday, Bob.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a real nice day. 51 degrees expected in the Billings area and across parts of south central Montana. But on Sunday, here comes another system moving into western Montana. You can see it here at 6 p.m. That'll be your second big storm. The first big storm is one that's going to stay in the Four Corner states, eventually go on down in towards the Central Plains. That one's not going to be an issue for us. It's the one up there on the High Line over there by southern Canada. That's going to move into our region. You'll notice by Monday, it brings it snow all the way down into the southeast corner of the state. Billings may catch a little bit of that, but we're not expecting a lot. Then by the time Wednesday gets here, the whole thing is out of here. So how much snow are we talking about? Well, here's what the computer models are saying. We could see maybe by Monday morning, nothing for Billings. Maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow over Missoula, Butte, Bozeman, and Livingston. Maybe the same thing at Havre. Then later on that week, we'll still look for nothing in Billings, but maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow over at Helena and places like that. So, wow, interesting snowstorm. It's going to kind of dance around us and just miss us. We'll have more in the forecast in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Well, a new study, The Impact of Drugs Across America, was released by the U.S. Drug Test Centers today.
Tonight, Q2's Jenny Fick breaks down the numbers to show us just how big the drug problem is here in Montana.
If you total up cases of substance abuse, drug crimes, and deaths, Montana ranks 18th for the state most affected by the national drug epidemic. One of the leading issues, opioids.
Predominant opioid abuse comes from off the streets, but opioid abuse can also come from legal prescriptions.
The study, Drugs in America, shows that the epidemic contributes to a number of additional problems, including overdoses, incarceration, and death.
Overuse of opioids shuts down the respiratory system, and the overdose is basically their inability to breathe anymore.
He says abstinence alone does not work unless paired with other tools.
Our goal is harm reduction when treating people with opiate addiction. Try and provide them medication so it reduces their risk for overdose. Methadone itself has been around since the 60s for treatment for opiate addiction. And there's a misconception that it's substituting one drug for another. It's not. It's providing coverage 24 hours so the patient has the ability to control their withdrawal symptoms.
Data also shows many people relapse and overdose after leaving prison.
They leave the facility and now they're thinking they can take the same amount prior to incarceration, so now they're at risk for overdose because they can't handle the same amount. We'll be implementing a program which we include medications such as methadone or buprenorphine for people leaving correctional facilities.
Greenberg also stresses the importance of reducing the stigma associated with addiction.
Addiction is not prejudice. It affects people of all race and all age. Some people think it's a moral failing when in actuality it's a physiological dependency. It's not my opinion to see them succeed. I want to see them see themselves succeed.
In Billings, Jenny Fick, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Jenny.
Still to come on your 10 o'clock news, Montana Democrats. The focus in Bozeman tonight will take you to the debate stage.
And a little later in sports, we're going to show you who is headed to divisionals on a busy semifinal Friday night around Montana.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.